We all know how it goes. One day we're born, one day we die. Everything that happens in between, we try to know and understand. But everything that happened before and everything that will happen after remains a mystery we can't penetrate. And because of that mystery, it's difficult, almost impossible to say what exactly the meaning or importance of our being here really is. If we cannot tell how we came or where we came from, then how can we ever truly know why we are here? Now flip the perspective. If we don't know where we're going or what we'll become, how can we tell if any of our present actions, the work we do, the people we love, the lives we try to build, have any lasting significance at all? It's this uncertainty, this permanent fog over both our past and our future, that has allowed the question, what is the meaning of life, to plague humanity for as long as we've been conscious enough to even ask. We've never been able to answer it objectively. We've invented stories, religions, philosophies, mythologies, science, even art, all attempts to wrestle with the question. And while no universal answer exists, countless individuals have found comfort in ideologies that give at least a temporary scaffolding to life. Some look to religion. A deity created the universe, placed us here, and our actions are weighed against the eternal scale. Others look to love, friendship, and human connection. The meaning of life is simply the bond we share. Others find meaning in existence itself. The fact that life is makes it worth living. But for the nihilist, the answer is stark. Life is meaningless. All action, all suffering, all emotion, both good and bad, is ultimately senseless. This is nihilism, the belief in nothing. What is nihilism? At some point in our lives, most of us brush against nihilistic thoughts. You might not even realize it. But when you've sat in silence and wondered, what's the point? That's nihilism whispering. It happens often in transitions. When we shed our childhood beliefs, when we lose faith in institutions, when we've outgrown what once grounded us but haven't yet found something new. It's the gap, the void between two solid points. And it usually begins with one simple question. Why? Why do I believe this? Why do I value this? Why does this matter? And if you keep asking long enough, stripping away layer after layer, you eventually hit a wall where no answer remains. You arrive at nothing. Every religion, every discovery, every philosophy. And still, why is the one question we cannot ultimately answer. And so, for the nihilist, the conclusion is brutal. There is no why. There is no answer. There is simply nothing. Alan Watts once wrote, "Life is nothing more than a trip from the maternity ward to the crematorium." A chilling description, but in the nihilist's eyes, it's honest. Even the very word tells the story. Nihil, from Latin meaning nothing, plus ism, meaning ideology. It is literally the ideology of nothing. Misconceptions. Nihilism versus other beliefs. Now here's where confusion begins. People often mistake nihilism for pessimism. They're not the same. The pessimist believes in the worst outcome. They see the storm coming, and they're convinced it will destroy everything. To them, evil always triumphs over good. But notice something. The pessimist still believes in good and evil. They think good exists. They just don't think it wins. The nihilist, however, denies the entire frame. There is no good, no evil, no moral scoreboard. In the nihilist's view, these are just human inventions. Labels slapped on a world that doesn't care about our labels. Think of the classic glass metaphor. The optimist says it's half full. The pessimist says it's half empty. The nihilist? He says throw away the glass altogether. Because what does it matter if it's full or empty? Either way, we all end up dead. This is why nihilism is also distinct from cynicism. Cynics believe people are always motivated by selfishness. They think good exists in theory, but never in practice. The nihilist doesn't even believe that far. For them, nothing exists out there. Not good, not evil. Only human projections. And apathy? That's another misconception. The apathetic person simply doesn't care. They might believe life has meaning, they just don't engage with it. The nihilist isn't indifferent. They're committed to the idea that meaning doesn't exist in the first place. The types of nihilism. Over time, thinkers categorize different shades of nihilism. There's political nihilism, the belief that all social, political, and religious structures must be destroyed for humanity to progress. There's ethical nihilism, the denial of absolute moral values. Good and bad are just inventions of society and shouldn't bind us. And then there's existential nihilism, the most famous of all. The belief that life itself has no meaning, no value, no purpose. This is the kind most of us encounter when staring at the ceiling at night. It's the heavy emptiness when the question, why, has no answer. Nietzsche. God is dead. Perhaps the most famous figure in this conversation is Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher both for and against nihilism. On one hand, he exposed it. He saw that all human systems of meaning, religion, morality, truth, were just human constructions, myths we told ourselves. God is dead, he declared, not to literally kill a deity, but to say that religion no longer held the cultural monopoly on truth. On the other hand, Nietzsche feared nihilism's spread. He worried it would unravel civilization, stripping humanity of any guardrails. And indeed, he wasn't entirely wrong. If nothing has meaning, then how do we condemn atrocities? How do we declare slavery, genocide, or cruelty wrong if wrong itself doesn't exist? Nietzsche warned that unchecked nihilism could hollow out culture, leaving a vacuum that could be filled by catastrophe. Yet he also suggested that through it, humanity might birth a new morality. Tear down the old house, he said, only if you're willing to build a stronger one in its place. Living with nihilism, so where does that leave us? If nihilism is true, if life has no ultimate meaning, if all of this is nothing more than atoms colliding and dissolving into dust, then what should we do? Should we despair? Should we collapse under the weight of nothingness? Or should we laugh at the absurdity and choose to stand anyway? The answer, ironically, might be liberating. Because if nothing matters in the cosmic sense, if the universe is indifferent to your joys and sorrows, then everything can matter in the personal sense. If there's no script written in the stars, you hold the pen. You choose the meaning. You define the why. You decide what's worth your time, your love, your suffering, your sweat, your devotion. That's the paradox of nihilism. When you accept that life has no inherent meaning, you suddenly realize it can hold as much meaning as you're willing to give it. And in that sense, nothing becomes the soil from which everything can grow. The Stoic contrast. And here's where Stoicism offers a profound counterbalance, almost like a steady hand pulling you back from the edge of the abyss. Stoics agreed that much of life lies beyond our control. The weather, the economy, the decisions of others, the inevitability of death. These are things no man, no empire, no amount of wealth or power can truly dictate. But instead of collapsing under the weight of that truth and surrendering to meaninglessness, the Stoics chose something radically different. They chose to anchor life not in possessions, not in chance, not in external recognition, but in the bedrock of virtue. To them, virtue was not just a lofty word carved into marble. It was the active choice to live each day with wisdom, by seeking truth and clarity rather than chasing illusions. It was to live with courage, by confronting hardship and fear without running away. It was to live with temperance, by moderating desire and recognizing that more is not always better. And it was to live with justice, by treating others fairly and recognizing that we are part of a greater whole. Where the nihilist shrugs and says, "Why bother?" The Stoic replies, "Bother because you can. Bother because choice itself is meaning." The Stoic doesn't deny the randomness of life. He accepts it, but then chooses to use that acceptance as fuel. For the Stoic, the very act of choosing virtue in a universe indifferent to your existence is what gives your life weight, dignity, and direction. Engagement. So now I want to ask you directly, do you think life has inherent meaning? Or do you lean toward the nihilist's view that meaning is simply what we make of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share your story. Has nihilism ever pulled you into its void? And if so, how did you respond? Did you find your way back, or are you still searching? Remember this: nihilism is not the enemy. It is a mirror. And sometimes, staring into nothing forces you to build something stronger. So here's my challenge. Don't run from the void. Confront it, laugh at it, and then decide what your meaning will be. If this spoke to something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Comment your story. And if you're serious about building a mind that cannot be broken, then subscribe right now and join this journey. Keep thinking, keep watching, and above all, keep evolving. And if you're ready to keep walking the real path, the hard one, the good one, make sure you stay stoic, stay sharp,